themselves. And it's not a violation of your rights to acknowledge that there must be something. You can, and it's not,
Well,
you can
my
think of
question is
God.
this.
Okay.
Well, why couldn't they done one nation instead of under God saying under individual beliefs? Why couldn't they done
because
that?
because that would have been chaotic. And that's a great question. And the answer
Why
is
would that
that
be
would have been
chaotic?
because
Because
everybody's
you're looking at the
individual.
individual now, and it includes. It's like, hey, it's your
And
individual belief.
that's an excellent question. And the answer to the question is because everybody's individual beliefs are totally different.
Yeah,
You have to
that's why it
have.
says under individual beliefs. So,
Yeah, right. But
hey,
everybody's individual beliefs are. So one person's individual beliefs could be that I don't think Otto has any rights. I don't think Sydney has any rights. I don't think Steve has any rights. That could be your individual beliefs. We can't live under that system. We have to live under a system that acknowledges that all of us have these individual rights and it's a universal system.
well, that's why we have the amendments and stuff saying that you may sit there and say, well, I don't believe this person has the rights. Well, that all men are created equal. So there's no reason you don't have that throws you out the window that your rights on your beliefs on that. Because as long as it
Okay.
don't infringe on other person's rights, you're okay.
Yeah, and
There's no then there's no chaos.
what are people's rights? They can't be the people's rights, your rights and my rights and universal human rights cannot be defined by individuals because every individual's definition changes. So you have to have one definition of
But there you
every
go back into that
person's
group
human
thing.
rights.
You got that one group thing again.
It's not
You're,
groupthink.
you're the one sitting. You're the one sitting there talking about individual. Republicans see individual, and
Yes.
now you're showing that you're not showing individual, and you even conceded that it's showing somewhat of a group think. So I'm like, it's hypocrisy on it.
Okay. And what I'm saying to you is that the fact of God is what acknowledges the individual's rights. Okay, there's one single anchor outside of you and me and everybody else. It's not group think, it's one think. It's God think. God
That's a group
is the
thing because
okay.
you may believe in God, but someone else may not.
Yeah, but see that's the point, right? So you have a choice. You can either go with what God thinks or what an individual thinks. So if you want to focus on what an in particular individual thinks, then yeah, you're going to have groups around that individual, and then another individual will think another thing, and then you have groups around that individual. But if you have what God thinks, this is what God thinks, then this is the reality. These are human rights. It's anchored in something known as God.
But there's no anchor to that because you got people who interpret the Bible differently. You got the fundamental Christians, you got Catholicism, you got evangelicals, you got oh, Lutherans, Seventh Day Adventists. I mean, the list goes on and on. So,
Right? Yeah, but the concept of God is not deterred by this. I mean, just because we disagree on God has this theology, or I think God has that theology. If I'm a Catholic or a Lutheran or a Calvinist, this doesn't change the fact that God is still God and God thinks what he thinks. So regardless of what I think or what any of these other denominations think, there's still this basic understanding of God, and we're all derived from him, right?
yeah,
Regardless
it
of
didn't
our
really work out too
denomination.
well with the Irish.
Okay, well but see, now you're getting into places where they had disagreements about God, not that they disagreed that God exists. See, you see where I'm going here?
But it's still a thing. They may have a disagreement about God because that's all you say. One nation under God. And then people go, which God are we talking about? We talking about the Catholic God? We talking about
Hmm.
the Christian God? We talking about the Judeo God? I mean, where are we going with this? And are we
Right.
referring to Allah? Are we referring to this? I mean,
And the definition of God is maximally great being. So the expectation of a maximally great being would be that a maximally great being wouldn't have any problem with
Well,
all of
I
our.
would believe
Hang
that.
on, and let me finish. A maximally great being wouldn't have any problem with our theological beliefs about what God is like.
Well, I would believe that if they didn't capitalize the word God, which does not refer, if they had a lowercase God, that would mean a reference to whatever God you want. But it's a capitalized God, which means more than likely it's referring to the Christian God.
And in many people's minds it is. In other people's minds it's not. But again, the definition of God is maximally great being. So a maximally great being cannot be held hostage by any one point of view, right? It's a logical consequence of nature and reasoning.
Like I said, that's the only thing that bothers me with Republicans on that is the whole hanging on to religion and sneakily pushing it into the basics of government.
Okay. And here's what I would say is that if they really believe in God and a maximally great being, then you will also trust that they believe in your human rights as an individual, and they will, because God recognizes the individual as the lowest form, as the most important form of government. Not the lowest form, but the most important form.
So wait a
Because
minute, wait. Start that begin because you said if what? If I believe in God or if I
so if Republicans believe in God as a general rule, and there are some Republicans who are also atheists. I
yes,
think I think Sydney might be one of them, but I don't know. But
there are.
if Republicans generally, for the most part, believe in God, and for the most part they do, um, then what they're saying is they believe in a maximally great being, and they believe that derived from a maximally great being is the rights of the individual through which through which God guarantees their rights. The government does not guarantee your rights, God does. The government's only job is to protect those rights. Okay. And so the forms of government, whether it be the lower forms or the higher forms, it's important to keep them to the lower forms because we want to protect the individual. We want you to be able to organize your life however you see fit and keep the government out of it. You want to, and this is controversial because it's not every, conservatives or Christians or Republicans view. You want to marry a man and you're a man? I'm kind of against that, but I don't think it's really government's job to intervene,
But
you
they
know?
have. Otherwise, we would have allowed gay marriage a long time ago.
Well, but here's the other thing. I'm also, like I said, I'm wishy-washy on that policy. And the reason I'm wishy-washy on it is because I do think that family is the most fundamental quantum of civilization. And when you fuck with family, you're fucking with all of civilization. And so I am wishy-washy on that policy.
So you don't think a gay family could be a real family?
I think that you're messing. I think that you're literally messing with the basic quantum of civilization. And that is a dangerous game to play. That's what I think.
Wow. A small percentage of gay people out there going to mess up civilization that bad, huh?
No, no.
Why
It's
would you
it's
say
that
that?
no, it's that family itself is the quantum. So like quantum is like a penny. A penny is like the quantum of the US currency. It's the smallest possible denominator of the US currency, right? Um, the quantum itself is the smallest possible denominator in physics. So you're you're fiddling with the quantum of human civilization, which is the family. The family is the smallest possible denominator of human civilization. When you start to redefine that, a man and a woman with kids, when you start to mess with that, you're playing with fire. So
That's your
even
opinion,
though
though.
I, it's my opinion based on the fact that it is the quantum of civilization.
That's your
That's what the
opinion. That's not
that's what
nothing based on
that's
100% fact.
no, it is 100% fact that the quantum of civilization is the family, right? So when you start to mess with the basic unit of family, the mom and the dad with the kids, you're starting to fiddle with things that you don't even understand the necessary consequences of.
I can understand to a point if if there's no complete unit of a family helping raise the kids, this and that. But to sit there and say, well, I got two dads or I got two moms,
Okay.
and feeling that's destroying the family by that account,
Okay. And
there's
here's what I
no
would go ahead. Go ahead.
there's nothing to prove that as being destructive in the family.
Okay. Here's what I would say in response to that is I would say, like, I'm not against a mom and a mom and a dad and a dad. I'm not absolutely against it. But here's what I would know for certain in disagreement with your original statement is that you have to have a mom and a dad if you are going to recognize the the basic fundamental family over the last couple of thousands, 10,000, even 10,000s of years. Okay. So that concept of a mom and a dad, that's like over the last 30 years, maybe 40 years. I'm talking about tens of thousands of years of evolution that you're just trying to turn up and upend all of a sudden. It's not going to end well. The basic unit of civilization is a nuclear family, and it has been for thousands and thousands of years. And so for us to be smug and step in and say, "Oh, well, that's outdated. It's get with the 90s." I mean,
Well,
that
I
to
agree
me
that's
feels like
another
the height of
person's
our
opinion.
arrogance.
Yeah, that's
To
another
me,
person's opinion. So if they feel that's outdated or that's their point of view, that's their opinion. But to sit there and say that even though predominantly, and we're talking large numbers here, over 90 some percent of humans are heterosexual, and you got this small percentage, it's like taking that little nick out of the penny that you're talking about. It's not going to affect the penny. The penny's still a penny.
really, because look at the divorce rates 30 years ago compared to today. What happened to the definition of marriage
But that had
between
nothing
then
to do
and
with
now?
gay people. That had nothing to do with gay people, though.
Didn't it though?
No,
Or did it have to do with the definite did it have to do with the definition of marriage? See, I think that what has
probably the
happened is that
definition of marriage,
the
but
definition
not
of
gay people.
marriage.
That's not gay people's fault.
Sure, of course it's not. And I would agree with you, but it is partly still their fault because the definition of marriage has involved them, right? So the definition of marriage, um, I believe, has led to the corrosion of the institution itself. And now what's happening is we are fiddling with the most fundamental quantum of civilization itself, which is the family unit. And so,
Yeah, but
yeah, gay marriage has played a part in that,
no. See,
in
you're
the
trying to compare back in the
definition.
'50s when the divorce rates and stuff, and even then, gay people were looked shunned upon and looked down upon, so they always kept hidden. So that still wouldn't affect them. A lot of the higher divorce rates and stuff popping up was due to a lot of women's freedoms and stuff, more being more liberated,
No,
not having to deal with certain things.
no, no.
So there's others. There's more
That's
to it than just that. Well, gay people had a part in it. No, they didn't. There's other factors that were way that did affect it.
such as what? Such as what?
such as second and third wave feminist movements.
Okay. And I'm a first and second wave feminist supporter, but what happened in the third wave?
Well, third wave, and now I guess they're up to a fourth wave, I guess. But the third and fourth wave, that's
They're
when
up
it
to
started.
fifth. They're actually up to a fifth wave.
Oh
It's
my
fucking
God.
crazy. Yeah, they
I,
keep going
I,
crazier and crazier.
I stopped keeping track of that because by the fourth and fifth waves, which happened like in the 90s and 2000s, that's when it started introducing the whole gay thing and stuff like that. So that's something. But a lot of women is like in the first and second, it's like a lot of women felt their independence and didn't feel they had to depend on the guy to support them. They could actually work on their own, which end up with some guys being coming in a kind of insecure
And
about it.
and you felt like this contributed to the divorce rate?
That was one thing. I mean, you got to figure a lot of things going on at that time between the 50s to the 60s and stuff, the wars, men coming back messed up.
Well,
You
but
know,
my question was, do you think that that contributed to the divorce rate?
what, the feminist movement?
Yes.
To a
The
point,
third
yeah.
the third wave or the second wave or the first wave or any waves?
It contributed to a point to where women stopped being more supportive of men to where they became more self-centered. And when it starts doing that in any kind of relationship where you become more self-centered in your own self and not the other person's feelings, the relationship's over with.
Sure, sure.
I mean, it's a marriage
Okay.
is pretty much a group. It's a family thing. I mean, you work together, your problems, my problems, and all that stuff. So you work
Right.
together, not well. Oh, you got this problem. I'm out the door because I don't have to deal with it.
Okay. Yeah, no, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. And this
Because
this
I mean,
is as a guy this is a guy who just went through a divorce. This
yeah,
makes sense to me,
yeah.
right?
So I mean, you got during the 40s and stuff where all the men were at war and they had a shortage of men working in factories, so they started hiring women. You know, Rosie Riveter. You know that big old
Sure.
slogan thing. Well, once they started hiring women and realized, hey, these women work pretty good. You get to pay them cheaper too.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
that kind of weaseled in there. I mean, just little splinters of things throughout the decades affected things. So, but
Well, I would go back. See, here's the thing: is I feel like I'm being drawn as I'm listening to you. I feel like I'm being drawn into a reality, right? But the reality that I keep coming back to is the basic nuclear unit of the family is important to civilization, and it has been for thousands and thousands of years. I can see myself being drawn into these conversations about how women have been mistreated, and that I could agree with those. I can see myself drawn to these conversations about how women have been neglected, and I could agree with those. But there seems to be, and I don't think it's trade-off. I don't think it's like an either or. I think that I can say what I'm saying and it's true, and you can say what you're saying and it's true. And I think we can both say what we're saying and it's true. But what I would still say at the end of the day is that a man and a woman in the nuclear family with children is the basic denomination in the currency of civilization. And when you lose that currency, you lose civilization. And we should ask ourselves which wave of civilization has undermined this, which wave of feminization has undermined this, because men still need to be masculine and women still want to be feminine, and you can be lesbian, you can be gay, but at what point are we just throwing off thousands of years of evolution for some modern day feeling? How stupid can this be? You know, this is evolution. How are we going to change evolution in 50 years? It makes no sense to me, man. You know, that's where I'm coming from.
But that's evolution. Things change in evolution. You know, it
Yeah,
evolves.
but not in 50 years.
A
You,
lot
you,
evolves in 50
well,
years.
no, you're talking about thousands. You're talking about tens. You're talking about tens of thousands of years of human evolution.
Yeah,
That
come
you
on,
think you're gonna.
Donald.
That
There
you
was no
hang on.
nuclear family tens of
That
thousands
you
of years
think.
ago.
Of course there was.
No, there wasn't.
Well, maybe
10,000
10,000.
years ago, there was a barter
10,000.
trade. The wife was how you appropriated land. You marry the wife, or you take custody of the wife. It's kind of a trade off. Tens of thousands of years ago, there was none of this. Oh, I
You
love her.
are. You're projecting. You're projecting. See,
I'm
this
not
is
projecting. I'm just showing
yes.
the facts.
No. This this is part of my problem with these modern left-a wingers, right? And it's not.
I'm not
Listen.
projecting. I'm just saying.
Don't read too much into that. Here's what I'm saying is that you're taking this modern experience and you're projecting it onto people 10,000 years ago.
No,
And
I'm just pointing out that nuclear
this is
family was not nuclear family tens of thousands of years ago. That was a totally different.
no, it was.
No, it
It was.
wasn't.
Of course it was. It was. Unless you were in a fucked up country, then you were getting slave traded and everything, right? But they didn't participate in civilization. They were used by civilization. See, the people who got used by civilization, they got slave traded. They got sold off as hookers. You know, they got pimped out. All kinds of horrible things.
I'm talking about where they owner of one tribe makes agreement with another tribe, and they make the agreement through marriage of their daughter or something to one of the tribe members' son, or to that person in particular. She had no say so in it. She had no, oh yes, I love to marry him, and there was no courtship. There's none of that stuff tens of thousands of years ago. So it was not a true nuclear family. No true love was in that when they married.
Okay.
So you can't compare. It evolved though. That's the whole thing. It evolved though to where there was courting. They fell in love. They had a choice to marry each other. That's where it started evolving to where it was better, and they were allowed to marry each other and fall in love.
Yeah, but you're focused on royalty, right? So the story that you just told was a story of royalty.
No, it's not just on royalty. It's just simple tribes.
No, hang on. No. Hang on. Let me finish. The story that you just told was a story of royalty. It was. Okay, you're talking about one tribe leader selling his daughter off to another tribal leader. That's the story that you just told. And what I'm saying, what the story that I'm telling is about the traditional nuclear family. I'm not talking about the royalty.
The traditional nuclear family was tens of thousands of years ago.
I'm not talking about
that's what I'm trying to point out to you.
Yeah, okay. In tens of thousands of years ago, that was the nuclear family. Of course, in royalty, right, in places of privilege, it happened differently.
But I'm pointing out how it evolved. It changed.
But hang on. But in the traditional nuclear family, who didn't have that place of privilege, no, they did it a different way. You know, the daughter was introduced to a young male, right? Usually the two family matriarch and patriarchs would meet, right? And the two kids would meet. They'd be handed off into marriage. They would marry, right? And off they would go to have kids. Now, that was the position of privilege. If you didn't have that privilege, you pretty much got raped, or you got sold off into slavery, and whatever happened, right? But the traditional, but those people who were sold off in those horrible, terrible places, they didn't have privilege. They were not contributors in civilization as far as the privileged were. The privileged people were the ones who built civilization. They were the ones who owned land, right? And this is horrible. I can tell already. You're already saying this. This is probably horrible to you, but you already knew this.
Yeah,
Everybody already knew this,
yeah.
right?
So it's
These
nothing
are the
new.
people, right? These are the people who owned land. These are the people who owned property, right? They sold slaves back and forth. This was life, right? But their civilization, nonetheless, the nucleus of it was the family, the mother and the father, the patriarch and the matriarch, raising children. That's what it was. And so now we live in this time where we have over 10,000 years of this thing going on. And now all of a sudden we want to say we're going to redefine what the nuclear family is. And I'm not saying the nuclear family needed to sell slaves. It didn't. I'm not saying that nuclear family needed to, have all of these atrocities that happened throughout human history. The fact is, they only lived for 40 years, and girls had their periods at 14 years old. So that was just human evolution. It just happened the way it happened. What I'm saying is that concept of a provider, a male, and a matriarch, a female, a mother, is built into our DNA. And when you try and fuck that up, how can you expect to get anything less than 70% divorce rates? That's exactly what you can expect to happen.
Okay, so but my thing is, even the nuclear family evolved over the centuries. If you like to refer to just I guess the male dominant or male head household, and then the female, and that. But that's changed over centuries. So I mean, this is just a small group of people on the side. They're like, look, I want to get married too. Now, there have been in times and centuries, even during Greek times and in Egyptian times, where same sex marriage was no big deal. It's like, bloop, bloop, we're done. It was rare because, the percentage of gay people is very small. Even today, there's a very small percentage of gay people that are married. And they're not affecting my marriage. They're not affecting anyone else's marriage I know of. I don't see gay people sitting there going, well, they screwed up my marriage. So I don't see how a gay person's marriage is affecting the nuclear family or the post-nuclear family. That's my point. I just don't see how it affects it.
And it doesn't. To be honest with you, it really doesn't.
Because I'm pretty sure your divorce had nothing to do with a gay person. So
no, of course it didn't. Yeah,
so
it did.
that's why
It
I'm
didn't
trying to
at
figure out
all.
where are you getting that, if we, you don't agree with the gay marriage, and then you go on this whole tirade about the post-nuclear family. If you start changing things, it's like, I'm pretty sure a gay person's marriage is not going to affect your heterosexual marriage.
That
So
is absolutely true. I agree 100% with that. Homosexual marriage, I would agree, does not affect heterosexual marriage whatsoever. What it does affect is society's definition of marriage. And society's definition of marriage and the nuclear family is what is ultimately being fucked with. And that is my point.
once again, you're trying somehow slip it in with a curveball, saying that still leads back to the gay marriage,
No,
which is
no,
changing the term of marriage to where it
no.
affects the. Then how's this? How's
There's
changing
no
the
curveball
definition? How's it changing the definition of marriage? Clarify that.
because you're no longer defining the nuclear family as a man and a woman and kids.
So
So that now that you're defining the nuclear family differently, now you're defining marriage as no longer being the foundation of society, which has always been a man and a woman and kids. Now that you're defining it
no,
differently,
no, no, that's
how do
your
you
opinion again.
how do you expect not to fuck with evolution doing something like that.
You don't, because it's such a small percentage. It doesn't affect anything.
Hmm.
It doesn't.
See, the question isn't the percentage, it's the definition of marriage itself.
But
It's
it
not
doesn't affect.
it's see it's not the percentage of marriages that are affected by the definition. Okay? That's not the question. See, I think now I understand that we have two different goalposts. You're saying what percentage of marriages are affected by this definition? I'm saying it doesn't matter. What matters is the definition of marriage itself, and not how many marriages are affected by it,
Okay, so why?
or defined by that definition. I'm
So
saying that the
how
definition,
does the definition affect one's personal marriage?
it doesn't,
Then why is it even a debate? Why is it
because
even an issue?
it doesn't affect any individual marriage. It affects the entire society, the
Well, then
entire
it's still
culture.
affecting individual.
No, it affects the entire culture of marriage. The
That's
entire
still affecting
culture.
individual.
The
Individual's
entire
still part of a culture.
the entire cultural attitude towards marriage. But see, here's the thing. The culture does not affect okay. I get where you're going. Maybe the culture does affect my individual attitudes more than I would like it to. More than I would like it to. I would like to say that cultural attitudes do not affect my attitude towards marriage whatsoever. I would like to say that. But the truth be told, it affects probably my wife and it might affect other people's spouses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so it's not just you, it's not just your attitude, because my attitude stays the same, right? But maybe my spouse's attitude has changed, maybe your spouse's attitude has changed, maybe your attitude has changed as a result of cultural attitudes. I don't know. Who can say? Only you can. Only she can. But the point is that people's attitudes will change because they'll say, "Oh, well, the law says this, so therefore my cultural attitude should be in compliance with what the law says." And that's a thing.
So I think what the thing is that gets me is the U.S. is a melting pot of different cultures.
Sure.
So the whole thing with marriage, you try to make it to where it includes everybody. If this group of people say, "Hey, I want to be part of that," marriage thing, sure, why not? I have no problem with it. Hey, look, I've always been open to gay marriage since the early '90s. I used to have a lot of gay friends. They talk about it, and I said, "Yeah, I want you to suffer as much as us straight people do."
Okay.
I want you to go through divorce and alimony.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I do not see, and I have yet to see any kind of proof that a small group of people who are gay or whatever getting married just dismantling a culture that bad. I just don't see it doing it. There's no
I
data
don't
to
see
prove
it,
that.
but see, I don't see that either. That's not what I see either. Okay. And, gays getting married, I don't see it dismantling it either. What I'm saying is the culture's definition, the literal definition of marriage. You're talking about the basic. I'm going back to this again. I don't know how much I can repeat it, but the basic unit of the family is what's being fucked with. Is what's being fucked with here. And when you, as a culture, as a society, say that the basic unit of family is not a man and a woman and children, when you start to say that, you're fucking with the basic unit
But no
of
one's
civilization.
But no one's stopping people saying, "Hey, you cannot do that nuclear family anymore. That is wrong." No one's stopping anyone.
Yeah, no, nobody's stopping it, but they're endorsing it. See, that's the point. You're endorsing an undermining of the basic unit of the family thing: the man and the woman and the kids.
Now that I agree.
And so, yeah, you're endorsing it. You're endorsing saying The family no longer is the basic unit of the man and the woman and the children, right? You're basically saying the family unit is fluid and it can be redefined. And that is the trouble, because now you're fucking with evolution.
Now I can agree. Now this is where I agree on that. When you sit there and say it don't have to be man and woman for family. Now what I see that happens, especially in pretty much going around black communities most of my life, is that the woman does not need a man in the house. She don't need the man in the house. She can do it all by herself.
Right.
And that's pushed. I agree to
Right.
that. I agree that's wrong. I
Right.
agree that puts more strain on the woman to where she can't focus on raising the children properly, ends up neglecting them, not physically or anything, but ends up not being able to focus on, nurturing like she would normally be able to if she had another person in the house helping out.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing's this, and this is where we disagree on, is that if that woman or whatever has another partner that's the same sex as them, growing as a family together in the unit and raising the children, one's being able to nurture and show the children how to grow properly without having to have the strain to work and do this and do that. I don't see that being an issue.
Well,
And there's yet to be anything to show otherwise. I
well,
will sit there and bow down if they show.
There has been things to show otherwise, right? So if you look at the success rate, I mean, I think we were talking about this the other day. If you look at the success rate of people, you can gauge it by their economic status that they're born into, or their crime levels that they're born into, or all these different factors. But one of them that is especially considerate to look at is having a mom and a dad. Um, they have a much higher level of chance of success by having a mother figure and a father figure involved, and they can even be divorced, but having a mother figure and a father figure involved in their lives, right? It's a very big deal. If you have a mother figure and a mother figure, or if you have a father figure and a father figure, it's not the same rate of success. There's a higher rate
You're going
of.
to have to show me a citation on that one.
Yeah, I will, but I'm not motivated enough to look it up again.
Because I've yet to see anything on data wise
I'll
showing
tell
that
you what.
same-sex marriage shows more
Yes,
failures.
I tell you what. I tell you what. If I can show you a statistical rate of children who don't have a father, or children who
No,
don't have
but
a
that's
mother.
children who don't have a two-parent. They're
Yeah,
assuming that
two.
father's
Okay,
in there.
okay,
That's
okay. So
two-parent
I'll
household.
change it. I'll change it. If I can show you just a statistical rate of people who grow up
Oh, I already
with a
know that
mother.
one. I already know that one.
Hang
I
on,
already
hang
know
on.
that one.
I didn't finish though. So how could you know it? So if I can show you a statistical rate of people who have grow up with a mother and a father and a father, right? Not having both a mother and a father. Okay, they only have a mother and a mother, not a single mother, but a mother and a mother,
Mm-hmm.
and a father and a father, not just a father, but a father and a father. Okay, if I can show you that those rates of success are lower than growing up with a mother and a father, then would you be open-minded? Would you be amenable to taking my side on this issue?
I'll be
I
open
just
to it.
okay, okay. Well, let's see if we can look it up here.
But
Let's
I
go
mean,
to
like
the.
I said, I do know about the rates of children that do not have a two-parent household are greater at not finishing school, getting into crime, doing more drugs. I already know that stuff.
Yeah.
How many hours have you guys been going in circles?
Oh, we're always going in circles. How about you? How many hours
Yeah.
have you been going in
It's like a
circles?
merry-go-round. It's like a merry-go-round. But there's no music playing. That's what. Well, I got music over here.
I know. I was wanting some. That's what I was thinking of. Maybe
Well, it
maybe we
started
should
out
add
as
that.
a where do humans come from, and then it petered out, and um, it went to hell. It went to
No,
it went
not
to
really.
whatever you just
I don't think
stumbled
it
into,
went to
Moshe.
hell.
Yeah, because we never
Yeah,
figured out where
yeah,
humans
yeah.
come from, or when human rights come from.
Yeah, we did jump
No, because
on that
Stephen
one
was
a little
saying
bit.
human rights come from are inalienable by God and God and
Yeah, he
God.
started talking about the God thing, and
Yeah.
which we've discussed round circles on that one about me thinking it's more of a group think being
Well,
forced upon people.
the thing is, how can human rights come from God when God's a right cunt? Wouldn't human rights more logically come from a sweet person or sweet being like Satan?
I don't know what you're saying there.
Well, you said human rights come from God. I say God is evil. And I say human rights come from Satan because Satan is good.
Okay.
So you agree?
Not really, but if you want to, you can.
Well, maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe another
But
time.
I'm ready for that one. And I have a lot of information to bring to the table that backs me up. So be ready to be on your sharpest toes.
Mm.
It's coming up.
Mm.